More than 30 years ago, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Declaration of the Rights of People to Peace, reaffirming that the desire for peace is universal among all peoples, and that every human being should have a right to live in a peaceful environment free from the violence of war. Those who would take over the earth, who would shape it to their will, must realize that the earth and the people are a sacred vessel. If the vessel is damaged, the universe will remember. If one strand of the sacred life of humanity that binds all of us together is damaged, we must hurry to repair it. There must be peace. We must work for it. Today we must make the promise so that no human being dies because of the violence of war. Our guests today are Councillor Bev Essinger, who has been a long-time supporter of education and peace, and she will be bringing greetings from the city of Edmonton. Reverend Dr. David Fekete brings greetings on behalf of the Edmonton Interfaith Centre for Education and Action, who is the sponsor of this flag raising and prayer ceremony, and also accepts the proclamation from the city. Reverend Brian Kiley of the Unitarian Church of Edmonton will give a reflection on peace. Jim Gurnett, a longtime peace activist in Edmonton, will raise the peace flag from the United Nations peace flag and speak to us of compassion. The ever-present Paula Kerman, who is standing in front of us here, who is a gifted journalist and longtime peacemaker, will sing "I Only Ask of God." Also, we have a wonderful techie here who set this all up for us, Mike Tully. Smile, smile. And somewhere or other, the Raging Grannies were supposed to be here, but I think all of you took up parking places, and they may turn up. And even if they don't, we're going to have a peace circle and the singing of the song that's on the back of the program that Netta Follett, the director of the Interfaith Centre, will give you. So first of all, I'd like to invite Bev Essinger to bring greetings and the proclamation. Bev? And David?
First of all, it's my pleasure to be here on behalf of City Council and bring greetings. It's important to recognize that the United Nations International Day of Peace really began with a vision that we'd all live in harmony, that we would live in peace. And it's something that we can all, as citizens, work towards. It's what makes our world a better place. So today I'm pleased to bring the proclamation and present it to Dr. Dave Fekete. Whereas the International Day of Peace was established in 1981 to strengthen the ideals of peace among all nations and peoples. And whereas in 2001, the United Nations declared the International Day of Peace to include the call for global ceasefire and nonviolence. And whereas the International Day of Peace is commemorated through education and public awareness on issues related to peace. And whereas Edmonton supports the observance of the International Day of Peace to foster cooperation between individuals, organizations, and nations. Therefore, I, Councillor Bev Essinger, on behalf of Mayor Don Iveson, do hereby proclaim September 21st, 2015, International Day of Peace in Edmonton, Alberta.
Audrey, do you want to hold this? Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. David Fekete, and I'm a minister of the Swedenborgian faith. I'm here this afternoon in my capacity as the president of the Edmonton Interfaith Center for Education and Action. On behalf of the Interfaith Center, I'm happy and honored to bring you greetings on this auspicious occasion. I'm delighted to live in a city like Edmonton, in which so many different cultures and faith traditions live together in harmony and call Edmonton home. I think that this city, for the most part, exemplifies the dream and the hope of the United Nations International Day of Peace. I can remember some of my first impressions of Edmonton when I arrived here in 2006. I remember going to a coffee shop, and as I was sipping my coffee and taking in the scene, I noticed a table where men were all talking in a language I didn't recognize. As the days went by, it dawned on me that Edmonton is a truly cosmopolitan city. I happily noticed the different races, ethnicities, cultures, and religions. Here in Edmonton, I hope we all enjoy and celebrate our spiritual diversity. I know that I do. The various cultures and diverse spiritual traditions that make up Edmonton enrich the city. They offer us varieties of sacred texts, of cultural arts, including food, different ways of seeing the world, and countless other unique contributions to life here. Here in Edmonton, one of the beautiful things about the diversity here is that by and large, I think we get along quite well. There have been unfortunate examples of hate language and intolerance, but in every case, the city and the Edmonton Interfaith Center have been quick to decry these unfortunate examples of hate language. At the Interfaith Center, what I love most is the opportunity to form friendships with people I wouldn't ordinarily encounter. Every other month, we visit a different house of worship. We're given a tour of the sacred spaces and the implements there. We eat food prepared by the practitioners, and we hear about their beliefs and practices. Through the Interfaith Center, the visits and celebrations like this one, I've been invited to a Muslim wedding. I've been invited to celebrate Jewish holidays, and I've met and befriended Buddhist monks and shared worldviews with them, sometimes on very personal issues. The City of Edmonton, the Edmonton Interfaith Center, exemplify and fulfill the hope of the United Nations International Day of Peace, that people of different religions and different races can build loving relations among each other. The city itself, celebrations like this one, and the Interfaith Center show that it is possible for different faith traditions and cultures to exist in harmony. If only the world could learn the lesson that we show so beautifully here in Edmonton. On behalf of the Interfaith Center, I bring you greetings. Thank you.
I'd like to invite long-term peace activist Jim Gurnett to raise the peace flag and to say a few words. Jim.
Thank you. It's exciting to see the space filled with people that are drawn here because of the power of a word. We all know that words work deep inside us. Words affect the chemistry of our cells. They affect our brain waves. And peace is one of those words that just saying it softly to yourself, saying it aloud to each other, it has a powerful effect on us. But you know, words work best when they're combined with other words, and we know that there's a whole family of of virtues that we often associate with this word peace. Words like kindness and hope and love and courage. And so just before we raise the flag, I want to invite you to pause and think for a moment or two about one of those words that I think of as belonging in the family of the words that go with peace, and that's the word compassion. And this is a word that I think is really calling for our attention in these times when we're surrounded by so much wall building and fear mongering, that we need to discover what this word is all about. It's a word that suggests that we have a call, a responsibility as people to actually be there with people who are suffering, who are hurting. Compassion, if you look at how the word is created, has two pieces to it. It involves, first of all, a call to be able to understand the state of those who are hurting, those who are pushed out, those who are ignored and mistreated, to understand what's happening. And then it has a second part to its definition, and that is about a determination to do something to end that hurting or that pushed outness, that isolation of people. And so it's not a fluffy pie in the sky word. It's a very busy, street level kind of word that has very practical implications for us. So as we raise the peace flag, I want that word compassion to be in our awareness, because it's a word that should motivate us as we walk away from here to understand that there's something we need to do about today. There's a couple of words tucked away inside compassion that I think are important for us to notice as well before we raise the flag. Compassion begins with this word compass, and a compass points us in a direction. And so Peace Day is an annual reminder that tells us what direction we should be orienting our lives and the choices we make hour by day by week in our individual lives, in the community, and in relation to world events. Compassion orients us. It serves as a compass for us. Another word that hides away inside compassion is the word passion. And passion is a word that reminds us that we've got to feel strongly about stuff. This isn't, oh, okay, I'll fit it in along with my concerns about all kinds of other things. This is life and death stuff for many, many people, our own neighbors and our global neighbors, for us to create a more peaceful world. And so we need to go away today with a sense of passion about what World Peace Day actually means in our lives. So as we raise the flag, I want to come back to that double meaning of the word and ask you to hold on to that through the rest of the day and in the days ahead. Hold on to that idea that, first of all, we have to be ready to do the work to become aware of what the reality is, of the lack of peace, of the damage that's being done by violence in all sorts of forms, whether it's war or climate problems. We've got to do the work to become aware, to open our eyes and ears and get the real information and not the propaganda of the big media message deliverers. And then secondly, we've got to have that determination to be actively involved in working for peaceful change. So I want to leave with you the little almost rhyming phrase to connect with our flag raising this afternoon, and that's that we're citizens in this community committed to compassion action. Compassion action. So as the flag goes up, let's think about what that might mean for each one of us. It'll be different for everybody, but let's look around and say, how can I become more aware? How can I become more involved in opportunities for action? We're going to make this a city that demonstrates to the world that peace makes a positive difference for people. It's not just a feel-good slogan. Thanks.
As the peace flag is raised and the events of the day and the week that resonate with peace in our community and in our world, let us rededicate ourselves to making peace. Let us dedicate ourselves to join with the organizations in our city who are working to bring refugees here and to help them settle into the life of this wonderful city. Let us resonate loud and clear across the nations where there are other peace lovers doing the same thing we are here today in calling for peace, peace in our homes, peace in our hearts, peace in the world, and peace to those people who are traveling over the oceans and taking the risks to come here and to have a better life. In the words of the poet, no mother ever put her kids in a boat because it was better than what was that back in their own land. And I think that when Jim talks about compassion, that's what he's talking about. I'd like to invite Reverend Brian Kiley from the Unitarian Church of Edmonton to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving up your lunch hour. And I am wearing official robes today. This is our Standing on the Side of Love t-shirt that we wear to social justice events. The ancient Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu is said to have said, "If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there's to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart." Peace is such a broad concept. When I speak the word, some of you might think of the refugees Audrey just mentioned, other of the cessation of war, still others ending nuclear proliferation. And I suspect some of you are also thinking about the end to domestic violence and justice for the missing and murdered women. Perhaps you're thinking of environmental peace or peace between the First Nations and the federal nation. And maybe a few of you are even thinking about a nice cup of tea and a little peace and quiet at the end of the day, at the end of your busy schedule. There is so much wrapped up in this idea of peace. Over the course of the next week, the YEG Peace Fest events will offer several different approaches to peace for you to consider. So try to take some more of them in. But today, let's look at about the peace that we can make and find in small communities of people. If there's to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. The 20th century liberal theologian who happened to be a Unitarian, James Luther Adams, he lived and studied in Germany in the 1930s, and he watched the rise of Nazism. And he saw how small communities were forced and co-opted into doing some fairly heinous things. And he concluded that the only way to build peace and trust among people is not through fear, but to structure similar small bodies around a different guiding principle. It was the principle of volunteerism. He called them voluntary associations. Not terribly creative, but he was a theologian, not a poet. No one would be forced to join these voluntary associations, but they were designed to participate in the building of communities and cities. They had to be based on principles of freedom of association and goodwill. Everyone had to have a voice and the right to speak freely and deeply. He believed that would give each person ownership. The community league model that we see here in Edmonton is a good example of what Adams was trying to seek. People coming together to carry out neighborhood, sport, and social activities, to discuss shared concerns and pass them on to the folks who work in that building. Many of the community leagues in the city work very well at doing that. And a good many of our city councilors start in the community league level. The small community, and we each belong to many, whether it's churches or work organizations or neighborhood groups or sporting events, Some are more healthy than others, but when it is a truly free and designed to be a safe place, where it's a place where we can practice peacemaking, where we can learn to accept diversity of opinion, find support for our hopes and dreams, and comfort in hard times. And in these small communities, this is where we take our first peacemaking steps. Talking to one another, examining our own beliefs, and sharing our insights with others. And when we start with ourselves, when we start speaking from the heart, and more importantly, when we start listening from the heart to opinions that are different from ours, those are the very first steps of peacemaking at a community level. Another way to name the peacemaking process is to call it community building. On Saturday, we held the first ever Festival of Faiths right there in City Hall, bringing a large number of groups into contact and conversation. It was peacemaking, and it was an excellent day. And I still marvel when I say it took place here in City Hall. That seat of municipal government of ours is so open and welcoming to such events, and that qualifies as peacemaking work too. I've lived in 4 major world cities. This is the first one that I've ever been to City Hall, and I've been here, 50, 60 times for different events. This is an amazing resource we have that is not the standard around the world. As we build peace, the gift of this place, once called the Temple of Government by a former Catholic archbishop, cannot be understated. This is the place of peacemaking, though perhaps last week the cabbies and the fans of Uber may not have fully agreed. The point is, people talked. They talked loudly, but they talked. The peace of small communities and cities is an important step, but let's remember what we bring to those small communities. The very bottom rung of Lao Tzu's ladder: if there's to be peace in the community and the home, there must be peace in the heart. There will be no peace if we live our personal lives out of a place of hate and anger. First, we have to make peace with ourselves, and then with the people around us. Not the people who think like us, but the people who don't think like us. That's our first step to becoming peace builders in the world. Thank you.
And I have to listen to him every Sunday, so I knew what he was going to say. Thank you so much, Brian. I would like to invite our wonderful Paula Kerman to sing a song for us.
Hi, everyone. The song I'm going to do is originally written in Spanish. It's a song from Argentina. Sometimes as a songwriter, you discover a song that was actually written by someone else that pretty much summarizes everything that you wish you could have said. And this is one of those songs. It's basically a hymn or a prayer, not in any one particular religion, and basically asking God, whatever God you happen to believe in, that we should not be indifferent to suffering, to injustice, and to war. I only ask of God that He won't let me be indifferent to the suffering, that the very dried up death doesn't find me empty and without having given my everything. I only ask of God that He won't let me be indifferent to injustice, that they do not slap my other cheek after a claw has scratched my whole body. I only ask of God that He won't let me be indifferent to the wars. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. of God that He won't let me be indifferent to deception. If a traitor knows something more than the rest of us, then we should not let him be easily forgotten. I only ask of God that He won't let me be indifferent to the future. Helpless is the one who must depart to go and live in a different culture. I only ask of God that He won't let me be indifferent to the wars. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. Solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande, visto fuerte, toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Es un monstruo grande, visto fuerte, toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, for your dedication and your beautiful song. Now I'd like to invite Marilyn Gay up here and the other raging granny who managed to make it here. Did you find parking? Oh, and Rosemary is here too. I have a surprise for them because they're going to join me in saying the last words of the closing. Then I invite you to form a circle and we'll sing the circle song.
Long before we knew violence, long before we knew war, long before we knew lies and evil, we had a universe of love.
Long before we built towers of Babel, long before we knew toxic politics, long before we had an arms lobby, we had a universe of love. Do you want to read the last one here?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Long before we corrupted each other, long before we knew child abuse, long before we murdered our women, we had a universe of love.
Long before we go to sleep at night, long before we dream our dreams, long before we close our eyes, pray for a universe of love. And so let it be. Do you form a circle, please? The words of the song are on the back of your program, and we're going to sing it for you so that you get an idea of it. I'm sure most of you know it, okay?
Okay, we're gonna huddle in and sing.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole.
Now everyone sing it together.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of and shake hands and say, peace be unto you.